Hey, we're back with Aiden again.
Well,
So, Friday we did a one-shot where Aiden was DMing for a Ubanian one-shot. One-shot. Kevin, how do you think it went?
I think it went pretty well actually. Lots of nice little lore tidbits there. And we'll talk about the lore, I guess, at a later point and what we all think of it. But I think it went pretty well. It was pretty succinct, I think, because one shots are pretty hard to pull off
Yeah,
just
very
because
hard.
of
Yeah.
because of the time constraints that you have. So, yeah, I think you did a good job, Aiden.
especially considering we normally go for 3-4 hours, like that's a real short one shot.
Yeah, 4 hours ain't enough, huh? Yeah.
Not enough when you got to wrap up a whole story, but
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we did stay a little later this time.
Yeah,
12:30.
we did. Yeah, it was at 12:30 we ended. But I think we'd wrapped up quite nicely, and I think, oh god, I forgot what I was gonna say. I was gonna say something to add on to that, but yeah, it was pretty good. I think. Oh yeah, this is what I was gonna say. Basically, the pitfalls with one shots is that most people who've never run them before tend to not know how much to put in it. And it's deceptively, I find that there's a lot less, like the less you put in, like the better it's gonna flow. Whereas I think, if you remember Matt's one shot from ages ago, the one he ran recently, by recently like a couple of months ago, like 6 months ago or something
Who's
like that.
Matt?
Oh fuck!
Ooh.
Wait, we have to cut that out.
Nah, he'll be
Shit.
fine. He'll be fine. Yeah, Matt's one shot was chaotic, to say the least.
I think there was just way too much stuff in it that didn't lead to anything, instead of just having like, you know, two plot points and then like you end, you know.
But think of the future when he does another one shot, and we go to that guy in the toilet and we figure out like his family or whatever.
Yeah, think of the one shot that he does, and he just doesn't remember anything he did in the last one shot.
That won't happen. But enough shitting on Matt. I also really agreed. That was really, really fun. That was your first time doing an actual D&D one shot, right?
yeah. So we done the Lord of the Rings sort of variant on D&D a couple sessions, but this was the first actual D&D 5e
Yeah.
campaign session, one shot, if you want to call it.
Was there a big difference or not?
Yeah, well, the mechanics were a little bit different because they altered it for the Lord of the Rings, but yeah, it was more or less the same, which was probably a good thing.
We didn't have to spend much time going through rules. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. There were a few tidbits where we'll talk about later. We get to drop some bombs later. Hell yeah. Aiden, I want to ask why you wanted to do this one shot. Like, what inspired you to do this?
Well, I think I was, like I said last week, I was looking to improve Ryan's backstory, and to do that I had to build upon Ubania because there wasn't a lot written as of yet. I had talked to you and was like, "Are you cool if I write a few things to add in?" And then just sort of went on a roll and kept writing and
Here we
ended
go.
up ended up with a lot more than I intended, and so decided I should probably either just drop it all in the lore thing or make it a one shot and make it fun to
experience.
introduce.
Yeah. It sticks much better when you actually play as a character in the setting, I think.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was fun. It was a little bit. I started off a bit slow and a bit shaky, which is to be expected
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah.
But once we got settled, it was all right and sort of took hold of its own.
Yeah. I think, going back to Kevin's point of how you have to keep it succinct, I think that's partly the issue of the players as well. Because I know me and Kevin usually fuck around a lot as our characters, so that usually eats into the time. Especially now with like Lewis as well. And a little bit of Maple's player who played a different character called Braylon. But we'll get into that in a sec. Should we go into the recap?
Take it away, Aiden.
I did
No,
recap
no,
last
no.
week.
It's my turn. I never get to do the recap. It's my turn, okay?
Oh, I thought we were gonna make the guest do it every time.
He did it last week. And I never get to do the recap because I'm never a player. So
Alright.
I get to do it. I get to do it. So, we're traveling. We are a party of elite Ubanian, what would you call them? What? Soldiers, mercenaries,
Soldiers,
soldiers, yeah.
part of the army.
And we've all been recruited to do this super secret mission with a Ubanian Novo cleric.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yep.
What is a Novo cleric?
Novo cleric is a cleric who's a special type of cleric that's just had their tongue removed. They can't talk, they can't cast, they can't be a cleric anymore. This is their last mission.
So like no mo cleric.
Yeah. Sure.
And she was part of like the Medicorps or something?
Yeah, so she was a medic on the front lines.
Sweet. That's a really cool name actually. Is that a real thing?
Medic corps. Yeah.
Oh. Well, now you know. So
I believe so.
yeah, we've been following her around, and she's been going from village to village, entering houses, and we just kind of have to stand by, watch outside. She goes in the house, she leaves the house, and it's usually pretty chill for the first month, right? Nothing of interest happens. And we start the session outside a house in the town of Lon Long, which is populated by these gigantic bear men who all wear bear skins, right?
Yeah. So
The men that wear bear skins, not
Right,
actual
yeah.
bear men.
Bear-like men.
So they're just big, hefty dudes that have hunter-gatherers that have hunted bears and are currently wearing them as coats and hoods.
Must be in the diet.
What?
How big they are. Must be in the diet. They just eat
Oh, the
bears all day,
diet.
right? Oh, the diet. Must be the way they die. Yeah, we start outside a town like that, and the Novo cleric Jada goes into the house, and that's where we start. And we introduce all our characters. So, I'll start with everyone else that's not me or Kevin. Lewis, from I guess two weeks ago, plays a 7-foot tall, variant human, big guy named Yusinko, I think.
Yep.
And he is huge and kind of orcish. He's like a brute, military, stubborn, hard-headed kind of guy.
Just follows orders.
Yeah, and he carries around this huge glaive. We find out later he's a psychopathic, murdering asshole, along with some other characters in our party. We have Braylon, who is Maple in the other campaign. He is this. I forgot how tall he was. I think he was around my height, like
I
five.
wrote it.
Five,
Oh,
five
no, I
something?
didn't write it. Yeah, I think it was around your height.
Like 5'10" ish, and he's this hooded kind of ninja gear shadow monk, right? He's a shadow monk.
Yep.
And then we have Tokel's character, Christoph. Can you tell? Did he run that through you, or was that a surprise to you as well?
He sent it in the Discord that his character was Christoph, and I sort of looked at it, and we were 2-3 hours out, and I was just face palming a little bit, like that, along with his backstory, which didn't include anything about the military, which I was like, I said to everyone, I was like, we need human, military, non-cleric. Those were the 3 criteria, and he followed the human, missed the military, and luckily didn't choose a cleric. But it was just that's classic Tokel. He yep, he listened, but he heard, but he didn't listen. So that was an interesting one, but it turned out funny enough, I think. Once he introduced himself. And
Yeah, his name being Christoph, context-wise, Christoph is the god emperor of the country we're in, or the king, I guess empire we're in, and he shares a name with him, which is kind of blasphemous if I'm being honest. So that was kind of messed up for my my immersion.
Yeah.
But it did kind of play into how strange his character was.
Yeah, and how out of place he was.
Yeah, which was a cool dynamic, honestly.
Clearly was not meant to be in the military.
Yeah. He is this, I think he was like a scrawny, short,
Son of a lumberjack.
Yeah, gets beat up by his brother's ranger, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, he does some strange stuff later on, which we'll get into. Kevin, you want to talk about your character?
So Zora is this bloodthirsty, warmongering type woman. She's like 6'6", 6'5". She kind of lives for war. It's kind of like one of those veterans you hear in real life where they're like, yeah, I would go back. I would go back to the field if I had the chance. And she's kind of like that. Kind of loves killing people. Just basks in the glory of killing non-humans and enemy humans alike. So not a very deep character, but it was pretty fun to roleplay. Doing all that.
You're getting it all out, huh? Getting all those murderous tendencies out?
Yes.
He started off strong with just the violence straight off the bat. When the when Jada leaves the house, it's straight up coat hanging a woman.
Okay, so yeah, we do that. We introduce ourselves. Jada runs out. I think her name was Erica.
Yeah.
She comes out crying or whatever. She's chasing after Jada. And Kevin says Zora coat hangs.
Yes.
Coat hangs.
Yes.
Coat hangs the woman. Can you explain to me what coat hanging is, please?
It's when you stick out your arm
No.
and their neck connects with your arm, so they
No.
kind of get like
No.
they get coat hanged, basically.
No. That's called a clothesline. And it's close. It's C something, but no. And then you did clothes hang, and that was still wrong. And then we finally got to clothesline. And I think
I think majority agreed either or, clothes hanging or clothesline was acceptable. It's just Albert who has
coat
has a
hanging
sticky
is
butt
not
about it.
acceptable. Coat
It
hanging
is.
is not
It's
acceptable.
fine.
Clothes
It's fine.
hanging, I'm kind of on board with. Clotheslining is correct. Coat hanging is not correct. Unless you're literally like hanging them with their coat. I don't know.
But it's
That's not
like
what you
your arm is the coat hanger or the clothes hanger or whatever, and you're hanging their neck as they collide with your arm. What's the difference?
Nobody says coat hang. That's the difference.
I say cloth hang, okay?
Yeah, I said nobody. And guess what? You're somebody.
On half of this podcast, motherfucker.
Yeah, you're right. You're 1/3 right now. Lewis's character, Usinko, he puts like his hand on Bjorn's shoulder or something, which is the husband of Erica, I assume. Comes out and tries to break up the little scuffle everyone's getting into. I think all the other characters are kind of watching on the side, which I don't know what we're supposed to do. I mean, I feel like I'd watch from the side as my character, but as far as military standards go, probably not, right?
I mean, depends on the situation, because you went right by the door.
Yeah. I mean, I think as far as military standards go, we were the most eccentric bunch you could have put together at that point.
Yeah, but that was probably part of the reason why you were chosen.
Yeah, I think
All geniuses are crazy.
Yeah.
I liked how the party fulfilled like different-ish roles. So me and Ozora and Yusinko were more of like the enforcers and your typical bodyguard types, right? Probably more Lewis doing the protecting, and then you have me doing the
Slashing.
going out and doing the killing, right?
Yeah.
And then you have the investigative type, which was your character Bella, and you had I guess like a hunter-gatherer type, although he kind of struggled to fulfill the role with Christov. And we had a stealthy type, or like a more martial, stealthy type, roguish type with
Braylon?
Maples. Yeah, Braylon. Sorry, there's too many B names.
It's a lot of bees.
Braylon. So it wasn't a typical like we're like the 5 elite guards. We were like the hateful 5, or the whatever it was.
Hateful 5. I should probably talk about my character, right? I completely forgot. Bella is this like 5'6", so I'm a whole foot shorter than Zora. She is a rogue inquisitive who just kind of goes around questioning people, sometimes torturing people, kind of like the military police kind of thing, where she kind of solves crimes or whatnot. so she's never actually seen the front lines of war, which comes into play a bit later. And she does have a bit of a soft spot for non-human races because of her backstory, and that comes into play later.
Big time.
God damn. Yeah. So the scuffle breaks up, and then we kind of ride away in the carriage, I guess, the carriage or the wagon we brought with us, right out of town, and they weren't following us, but there was a few people like gathering up, like, hey, what's going on here? And we just kind of ride away watching them, and we eventually end up camping the night at a lodge, like a days out.
Yeah, it was just a hunting cabin. It was a small, like, 1-bedroom wooden shack posted up in the middle of the woods that would have been used by the village people to stay when they were hunting.
And we just occupied that, huh?
Yeah.
And Jada doesn't give a fuck.
No.
She was cold. She was cold the whole time. Did you intentionally make her kind of like away from the party?
Well, yeah, she's battle hardened. She's seen a lot of nasty shit in the war. She's been on the front line. She's seen the worst of the worst, and worse than that, even with all the wounds that she would have been healing. Like, she's got some severe PTSD going on, and
just in regards to why does the role that she's fulfilling now on this specific mission, why does it have to be a cleric? Because basically you said that all clerics have to have their tongues removed, so they can't cast spells.
Yeah.
So that just makes them any old Joe Bob, right? Is this type of mission like a traditional or ceremonial mission that's only given to these types of people, or is there something about being a cleric that makes you better suited for this role?
I think it was more of the protective savior type. So they're fulfilling that sort of role, which we'll get into why what she was protecting a bit later, I suppose. But it was more of that protection, that savior, that healing side of things. It was I felt that was more suited to having a character do that, as a, instead of like a barbarian or a sorcerer or something like that.
I think my headcanon for that was clerics have this kind of, I don't know if it's like an innate knowledge that kind of allows them to identify whatever they were supposed to be looking for. That's kind of how I processed it in my head.
That part of it too, I did sort of read into that a little bit, but it was the reason I picked cleric initially was because it was that protective side of things, and then they had the spell casting, the magic side of it as well, which played into the lore of it. But that was the initial choice, was that protective character.
Okay. She didn't like protecting us.
No.
Not at all.
You were not her mission.
No. No, we were not her mission.
I mean, we were supposed to protect her, so that makes sense.
Yeah, but she didn't want to help at all. So we set up outside the lodge. We set up camp. We send out Christoph to go collect some sticks, some tinder for the fire that Zora is currently trying to beat 2 rocks together to start. I don't know what kind of military training she had, but I guess it works sometimes.
No,
smashing 2 rocks together.
No, do you ever like clack 2 rocks together and they make a spark? Certain rocks.
Doesn't it have to be flint?
No, it just has to have a bit of iron in it, I think. Or
Yeah, something like that.
metal.
Oh, I thought she was just going full barbarian, just trying to smash 2 rocks.
Oh yeah, well, just like doing that in the most mank way possible. But yeah, doing it's not something random that I thought of at the time.
Oh, okay. So Christoph gets sent out to find some tinder, and he has to roll a survival check. And rangers are supposed to have advantage on kind of foraging and surviving in their terrain of choice. And I guess his would have been forest or whatever. But I guess Christoph's player didn't know at the time. So he rolls his survival. I think he gets like a 3 or a 4 or something absolutely sad. So he comes back with a stick. After, how long would you say?
Oh, an hour.
Oh lord, he comes back with a stick after an hour. And
Not a good. I had real bad luck throughout the entire session. And I think only up until the second and last battle he started getting decent rolls. But throughout the entire night beforehand, it was all like 2s and 3s.
yeah, he kept kept getting fucked.
Pretty funny, but
Yeah, someone has to get fucked.
Um,
Someone has to get fucked.
played well into the character again with this scrawny guy that's not supposed to be there, just not being able to participate.
It's like they like checked off the name list and it was a different Kristoff, but they hired this one instead. It's the wrong Kristoff. We all do our little things. I think I stay by the fire. Braylon goes and scouts the perimeter. Usinko, I think he goes to get some wood as well, and he comes back with like 2 giant bundles of sticks, which is pretty neat. We set up the fire. We chill for a while. That whole event. Did you expect that to happen like in like a camping scene that goes for like 10-15 minutes, or was I just kind of?
So I was expecting Eisen's character to be there, who was supposed to be a cook named Anya, to be there, and I was expecting her to be foraging and collecting food and making a meal, because that was going to play into the next part. So I had sort of worked the cook side of things into the campaign, and then was expecting a bit of rivalry and competition with the gypsies that turn up soon after. But yeah, I did to answer your questions, I did expect a bit of a camping scenario and collection and roleplay in that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately, Anya's player couldn't turn up because he was sick, so we didn't have that.
I wish he told us earlier though. Yeah, I'm calling you out, Eisen's cat player. Hey, you're so flippy floppy.
I mean, we went to bed with a fever and then just got up after you messaged him.
Yeah, not this.
I'd cut him
Other
out.
times. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. You know what we talk about. Anyway, we do the camping thing. the gypsies turn up. Would you call them gypsies or like a traveling entertainment?
I had written them as gypsies.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this like traveling caravan of gypsies kind of shows up, and they are kind of intent on camping nearby, which is bizarre to me. But for some damn reason, Usinko, out of the kindness of his cold, cruel heart, in the one moment in the session, decides, you know what? It's okay. Let's let them stay, what, 30, 40 feet away from us.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't 30. It was about 100 feet, 30-40 meters.
Oh, okay. Still pretty close. Still
Yeah.
close. And that I thought that was a silly decision as my character. And I even like elbowed Braylon's character in game. I was like, that is a bad choice. Like I don't know why we decided to let these very sus gypsies stay by, but we do. And they start cooking up a meal. They're singing, they're dancing, and that meal smells good. It smells good. So Tokel's character Kristoff is really intrigued by the smell and the food, and under the guise of keeping watch of the gypsies, he goes over, and Bella's character, just Bella in general, her character is really interested in, what's the word? Savage cuisine. Because Ubanians call everyone who isn't Ubanian like a savage or a barbarian or some kind of beast. They look at everyone else as like kind of animals or lower species that they don't deserve the land and it should be theirs or whatever. But she's super interested in that kind of stuff, so she wants to go over too. So she goes over. They hand Bella and Kristoff 2 bowls full of stew or like some kind of soup or something.
Yeah, it was like I had in my mind it was like a red curry type
Ooh.
situation. So a lot of very aromatic, very flavoursome. Yeah, soup as well, but yeah, mainly a red curry is what I had in my mind.
Yeah, and Kristoff, without even thinking, he digs right in. He
Straight
digs
in.
right in. And Bella, being the ever cautious type, does the little pinky tip in, gives it a taste, and then it's like, tastes good. So she decides, you know what, it's pretty good. I'll go ask what how they make it, and kind of like trying to glean some information of where they're from by doing so. So she goes up to the gypsy caravan leader, which is this very old, elderly woman by the name of Ellie,
Yeah.
and she says that it's just spices from Denethor, which is this enemy kingdom that Ubani is at an internal war with.
It is
And then-
it is the enemy kingdom.
Yes, it is the eternal enemy for all time. And Bella's like, uh-oh, red flags, red flags, red flags. She kind of, here's the soup back. I'm going to go back to my party now. Christoph, come with me. And so we kind of return, and I'm like, hey guys, they're totally evil. And there wasn't really much of a response other than just keep watch, and we'll go to sleep or whatever. So the party goes to sleep, and then they start casting this, I guess it's like a magical tune that's trying to put us to sleep or something.
Yeah, it was a well, it wasn't so much a magical tune, but they were playing a lot of music, and Ellie, who was secretly a sorcerer, was casting sleep.
Like chanting while under the guise. I
Yeah.
see. And so both Christoph and I have to make the saving throw. Christoph, he rolls like a 5 or something.
Yeah, well, he had a disadvantage because he'd eaten the soup.
Right, because the soup was some kind of sleeping agent or something of the sort.
It was to help. Yeah.
Yeah. So he gets knocked out straight away. Bella with the godlike rolls, the one of very many godlike rolls throughout the whole campaign, throughout the whole one shot. She stays wide awake and she kind of gets everybody up and gets the.
You stayed wide awake, but you felt that there was something
Amiss.
sort of willing you to sleep because you just made that save.
Ooh. Ooh. And she's like, guys, wake up, wake up. And Usinko, being the ever blood hungry man, asks if are we provoked? And I'm like, yeah, I guess we are. And he starts charging, and he's like, wait a second.
I mean, you said, "Are we provoked?" and you looked over at Ellie, who was staring straight at you.
Yeah, that was I had this imagination in my mind. I was like, wow, that's really creepy. I hate old women staring at me.
And then you're like, yeah. we're super provoked. To which point he charged.
Yeah, we get everyone else up, but who fails the wisdom saving throw? Was it Zora?
Zora failed, and
I think it's Christoph.
yeah, Christoph and
Yeah.
Zora failed.
And so they
Sorry.
fall back asleep. And then Usinko's like, oh, wait a second, we should probably try and wake them up or something. So we try again, and Zora wakes up this time, right?
Yes.
But Christoph, failing his role again, stays asleep.
Still asleep.
And we make some pretty rational decisions at as a party. Going back in time a little bit, like when the gypsies first showed up, Bella and Braylon's first reactions were to like kick dirt on the fire, to like kind of, I don't know, like mask our presence here, which is kind of hard because I guess smoke was kind of pluming out from where we were, so I guess it wasn't that good of a move, but you know, it's kind of what we did. We all take up positions, we kind of hide or whatever, so we kind of do that again. Braylon and Bella stay back at the lodge to protect Jada, the cleric, and Usinko and Zora charge forward, and they fuck up those two guys who just pick up sticks, right?
So Ellie disappeared when they started moving. She disappeared suddenly, and two males, the only two males in that traveling gypsy party, moved forward to protect the others, and they didn't have any weapons. They picked up a couple of sticks, which we wish you had those guys instead of Christoph finding sticks, because they found them
sticks
immediately.
pretty easy, huh?
So they were carrying a couple of sticks, and so as Zora and Usinko rocked up, they just annihilated them with one shot. Well, Zora annihilated both of them with one shot.
So they had like a max of like 8 health or something, right?
Yeah, they had like 4.
Oh lord, Zora, you
Oh hell yeah! Oh,
cold
hell
ruthless killer.
yeah.
Like as soon as you narrated that they died on the spot, I was like, oh shit, we're doing something terrible right now, aren't we? Regarding Ellie's like disappearance, was it like a magical spell or was it just kind of like a thing?
She cast invisibility.
Oh, okay. And so they start charging, and then Ellie reappears as a kind of like a half elf man or something?
Yeah, so tall half elf sorcerer was the class.
Was his name still Ellie?
It was Elberoth.
Ooh, so it's short for the real name.
Yeah.
Cool. And he casts Fireball.
Yeah.
He casts Fireball, How much damage did it do?
I did like half of Zora and Yusinko's health, so like
Did like
30.
31,
something. Yeah.
31 damage. I
Yeah,
think.
like 30 is damage to the two frontliners, and they are hurt, right?
Yeah.
They are really hurt.
In a
And
bad
that
way.
and Kristoff feeling the soaring heat and the explosion wakes up from his drowsiness finally. And we start combat. I think Usinko charges Ellie. He tries to he gets in a few good hits, I think.
Just in one.
Yeah, and I think I go up next.
Yeah.
So Bella kind of gets a little closer. She shoots a short bow. She gets a crit. First hit gets a crit,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a sneak attack crit. And I don't think we've explained this before, but the way we do crits in our campaigns is lethal. Very, very lethal compared to the, I guess, the normal way you do it. This is going to be hard to explain, but what we do is we roll the damage dice twice. We take the highest, and then we just add the maximum amount, the maximum you can get on the dice. So say the damage is 1d6. We roll 2d6, we take the highest value, so say we roll a 5 and a 4, we take the 5, and then we just add the max, so 6, so the attack does 11 damage. And if you do that for sneak attacks, which this is something I've been thinking about for a while, it's really broken with sneak attacks and barbarians, savage crits, which is something we don't have to talk about because we don't have a barbarian anymore. But rogues do dumb damage with our variant crit rule. But I don't think it's really come up that often in our campaign because, first of all, we don't have that much combat. And second of all, I don't think Snow, rogue in that campaign, ever gets crits that often, right?
I think it may have happened only once or twice, so I don't think it's that broken. And even then, I did calculate the maximum damage, like the max damage I would get on a crit, and it's like 84. And knowing Ryan did 81 damage without any crits, I think that's okay.
I think that speaks more for Ryan's character archetype than the balance itself. Because, I mean, fighters always have that super crazy burst potential, especially if you build into it. And he did, what, 5 attacks in that one thing?
Yeah, 5 attacks,
Yeah.
all with plus 10
Plus 10 to
their
hit.
attack.
Oh, plus 10 to the attack. Oh, right,
Yeah.
because of the feat.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was like a very specialized thing. And for rogues, it's a singular attack, I guess. But I guess that's the thing.
Yeah, but I think the difference is you can actually plan out that attack with a fighter, whereas a rogue you're just relying on the chance of the dice, which
Yeah.
is like 5% or less than that, depending on how probability actually works. But yeah, and I haven't gotten a crit for at least like 10 sessions or 15 sessions now.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute. Just think if Ryan got a crit in any of those 5 rolls, huh?
There was only four that hit too. One of them missed.
Just imagine that's 3-digit damage, I think. That's 3-digit damage if we ever get a crit on those. So yeah. So if you ever get like a hold person on a monster or something and crits are automatic, that person is fucked. Like really fucked.
I look forward to it.
I don't. I don't. Anyway, I get the crit, and it wasn't exactly a one shot, but because she was already damaged, but she pretty much dies from that one attack, right? The arrow kind of goes through her neck, which was, I guess, kind of a fluke on Bella's part, because she is not combat oriented at all. She has 12 dex as a level 16, oh no, level 16, a level 6 rogue. So her stats kind of suck ass. So I wasn't expecting to one shot her, but I did. And that's what that feels like. Were you expecting more of a battle there, or was it
No,
going to be
not
easy?
at all. That was meant to be pretty easy. That was the
So it
only.
was meant to make us feel bad.
Yes.
And I was the only one who felt bad for the half-elves, huh?
Yeah. So
Ooh, yeah.
I did intend I had a couple of different things in mind for this encounter. I wasn't expecting everyone to be so like, no, you're not staying anywhere near us. But I mean, it makes sense. I just didn't think about it in the slightest. So I was expecting a little bit more interaction with them and a little bit more partying, revelry, and investigation into who they were, so that you would find out that they were half elves after the fact.
Okay.
So I was expecting that sort of moral dilemma to come about before combat, as opposed to after, when everyone was already fired up and ready to go.
Yeah, I think our characters, we play into the very Ubanian stereotype where everyone but Ubanians or humans are just savages who don't deserve any kind of remorse and just get cut down automatically. So I don't think that ever came into any of the characters except maybe Bella's minds when they charged at those half elves. One critique I can make here is that I don't know, or maybe I missed it. I don't know if you explained well enough that they had their heads
Oh
covered.
no, I definitely did not. I realized that this like because this was fairly early on. This was still a bit sort of shaky footing
Yeah.
and not explaining things as well as I should have. But I definitely did not explain that they had headbands or like coverings over their heads.
Yeah, so I think if you did, I'm pretty sure at least one of us would have been like, "Hey, there's something going. There's some little sketch with those heads there."
Yeah.
And we don't find out they're half elves until after we murder half of them. um, so we kill Ellie. She falls to the ground, and we run over to the cowering civilians, where Usinko and Zora, they're giving them the chop. They're giving them the chops. They're just slaughtering them one by one. Bella's like, "Yo, hold up, yo, hold up."
Well,
They
we
figure out
don't
what-
we don't slaughter
Oh,
any of them
right,
yet. We,
you
we
wait
turn
until you
over the
figure out your
cart.
half elves.
We turn over the cart for no just to be chaotic, and then Yusinko decides we tie them up, and then Bella wants to question them.
I'm
Yeah.
fairly certain you killed one immediately.
Yeah.
Did we?
Yeah.
I thought because I was going to kill one, and then and Yusinko were like, whoa, no more killing here, no more killing. And I'm like, hey, what the fuck?
No, I think Yusinko was the one that was like that killed one. I think Bella rocked up and was like whoa, and then Yusinko just stabbed one immediately. One of them definitely died straight
Was
away.
this before or after we figure out they were half elves?
Before?
Damn, and then we figure out they're half elves, and then the slaughtering really starts.
Yes.
So we chop through like 3 or 4 while we're questioned like, well, why did you attack us? What are you doing here? Who are you? What's your goals or whatever? And what actually were the goals?
Well, the goals were so Elberoth was their leader, and he was inspiring them to do these things. He sort of lured them in with money and greed and the promise of just power, basically being a sorcerer like that. And so he had lured these hopeless and helpless civilians who happened to be able to play music and play into his plan into this campaign to rob and loot just random people as he goes. And I suppose he got a little bit ambitious and picked the wrong party to rob and loot.
Right. So his intentions were hostile from the start.
100%.
Okay.
Civilians were kind of they're not blameless,
Innocent, yeah.
but it wasn't entirely their idea.
Okay. So we find out we're half elves. We find out the information. We cut him down. Bella's like, "Yo, hold up." So she decides to ask one of them in Elvish. And at this point, she didn't know that 4 out of 5 of the members in the party spoke Elvish, because that is heathen tongue. That is a barbarian, savage tongue that no true Ubanian should know. And so she asks them, and they're like, "Yeah, we rob and loot people." And she's like, "Oh shit! If I tell the party this, they're gonna scythe these dudes down like no tomorrow." And her, in her foolhardy, soft-heartedness, decides to lie to the party, and she's like, "Oh yeah, they got roped into it. It's not their fault," which is kind of true, a little bit. But turns out Zora knows Elvish. She hears it. She's like, "Yo, fuck them kids. Fuck them. We slaughter him today." And she kills a few more until there's only 2 left. And
Yeah,
we
I think-
decide to keep 1, right?
I think at that moment, Zora's like, "Oh, you liar! You lie! Why are you protecting them? Why are you protecting these savages?" And then I think simultaneously, because Zora and Yusinko were taking turns killing the elves one by one as we were questioning them, and then in this moment we both killed an elf at the same time, or we killed the same elf with simultaneous swings, because we just said it at the same time, I guess, and that just what ended up happening.
Yeah, and then there's 2 left. And I think Bella was like, "We should keep 1 alive for questioning at least." And so she turned to them, asked them in Elvish again, "Which one of you wants to live?" and there was an older elf and a younger elf. And the older elf kind of looks to the younger elf. She turns to Bella and's like, please, please let the younger elf live. And then who was it? Who was it that fucking yeets that younger elf
Yusinko.
into the abyss?
It was Yusinko.
Yusinko fucking destroys that younger elf, and the other more mature woman elf, woman half elf. She's crying her eyes out. Bella's like, yo, what the fuck? She's not gonna answer anything now, which is kind of par for the course. And he hog ties her up. We go back to camp. Bella starts burning bodies. And then I think they start up the campfire again or something. I think I go to the bathroom at that point, so I missed quite a bit. Because I think at that point they figure out somebody's watching them, or there was like a rustling in the woods or something.
In the process of you guys, murdering all these half elves, Christoph was back at the camp and heard a rustling in the bushes. Unfortunately, didn't roll a high enough didn't investigate at the time, I think, and waited till you guys got back. And by the time you guys got back and actually listened to him, it was way long gone. So you didn't discover anything there, but there was definitely something lurking in the bushes around camp.
I'm assuming it was probably Bjorn and his buds.
It was the wolf that you saw later on.
Okay. So we do that. So we decide to set up camp. We go to sleep for the night, do our watches, wake up in the morning, and Jada comes out, and we're like, hey, what do we do with this hostage half elf? And she just mimes is it the thumb across the throat?
Yeah.
Yeah, she mimes the just kill her, and I'm like, oh man.
Yes.
But Bella's soft-hearted, but she knows the mission when she knows the mission, so she just goes up. She does it in what she thinks is the cleanest way possible, which we have a little discussion over. But the half elf eventually dies, and I think was it Zora who just kind of lights the body on fire or something?
Yeah. I think so.
I think it was it was either Braylon or Yusinko who does that.
It was definitely Cinco then, because I don't think Braylon did anything super savage. That whole one shot.
Don't think so.
Yeah. So we leave the body. We continue on our journey.
Can I just interject? So
Sure.
One of the other scenarios that I had in my head that I didn't end up doing, I could have, and it probably would have worked out a little bit better, but definitely harder, was to have this second interaction, this second encounter occur simultaneously with this one. So as you guys, I was expecting a bit more, or was hoping for a bit more of like interaction, everyone in the middle fighting, and then in the process, the other six enemies from the next interaction sneak in, murder Jada, and take off.
If they murdered Jada, we would have all died at the end. So I'm kind of glad that didn't happen. And if they did try to do that, and we kind of caught them in the process, we still would have got fucked up just because of
how damaged
action
everyone was.
economy goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been cool to do. I really like the hopeless situation type thing, so...
Well, it would have been more of a, do we let these guys go, these half-elf savages that you are hell-bent on murdering, and go after these new enemies, or do we split forces and try and do both?
Knowing us, we would have tried to do both and failed both.
Yes.
So, yeah. Yeah. If you ever give players a choice, they'll choose both choices. That's something every DM finds out at some point in their careers. So yeah, I mean, it would have been interesting, definitely. I don't know how it would have played out, but yeah, we'd probably all have died at the end.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines. Instead, only one of us dies at the end of this one shot. So we continue on our merry little journey. We figure out, like, a wolf's tracking us or something.
Yeah.
And Usinko's like, yeah, you should shoot it. I'm like, alright. So I do I guess it's just a straight dex roll, right? And I roll pretty high again. I roll like a 19, so it comes up to like 21 total. We hear this little yelp, and the wolf stops chasing us. We continue on. We set up camp. We set up a little tent, a pretty big tent actually, for Jada, and she's still clutching whatever she brought back from that town. She sets up. And we start the fire again. We look for sticks. This time Christoph comes back with 2 sticks. So it's a little improvement there, you know?
Getting better.
We stop camp, we start the fire, and then Usinko catches an axe with his shoulder. Just a flying axe out of nowhere, and he throws it back into the woods. And Bjorn, two other bear guys, not really bear guys, big guys, come out with him, and they're accompanied by one dire wolf and one wolf, which is a guardian wolf.
Yeah.
Is that a DM creation?
No.
That's an actual thing?
That was is in the basic rules, I think.
Ooh.
With guardian wolf, it's classified as a huge monstrosity with neutral alignment.
Okay.
Ooh.
So, and this again is probably a bit of a pitfall on my part in describing the village, but I was meant to describe that the villagers, they were classified as berserkers in the encounter, but I had them in my mind as more Viking style.
Yeah.
They had wolves as pets throughout the
Ooh, like hunting companions. Cool.
And so the leader of the town has this big ass guardian wolf that you wouldn't have seen at the time, but
So was Bjorn the leader of the town now?
yes.
Oh, he was?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So again, this was a little bit of because of the shaky start. I think I didn't explain that first interaction with everyone as well as I should have.
Yeah,
that was the intention.
That's normal to like just forget things, or like even if you have them on notes, like just sometimes stuff is just going so fast that you just like don't have an opportunity to say it, and then like when you want to say it, we've already passed the moment,
Yeah.
so like it doesn't fit anymore. So yeah, that happens. I've had that a couple of times, and I'm sure Albert has had that plenty of times.
Yeah, I do it a lot, but what I end up doing is I'm just like, hey guys, I forgot to mention X and Y, so just heads up with that. But yeah, it doesn't really have much more of an impact in one shots, because in actual campaigns, like details like that, they kind of snowball into bigger things. But I think in this case, we just kind of accepted whatever was coming to us. So we're like, oh shit, they got wolves. We should probably fight here. And so we do this weird, what do we call it, castle formation?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I came up with it. I was like, get in castle formation, which is where we just surround the tent with a Cinco at the entrance of the tent, which is really dumb actually, because you can just kind of walk into a tent from any angle if you just cut in. So I don't really know why we had to stand at the entrance, but sure. And we start fighting, right?
Yes.
And initiative.
Oh.
Oh lord, initiative.
Yeah. So to put your mind at ease, I rolled 2 20s with that initiative roll for 2 of the enemies, and the other rolls were like 19 and 18. I rolled stupid with that initiative check.
These berserkers are faster.
Yeah. The wolves were faster, I think. They were right up the front.
Yeah, so it was 5 enemies total, right?
Two wolves, 2 berserkers beyond, yeah.
So 5 enemies total, and then after their turns is us, which is 5 PCs. Did you change the battles at all when you found out that Anya Kral wasn't going to be there, or was it the same encounter?
I didn't change it, I didn't change the number of people that were in that encounter,
Yeah.
so it was a little bit overcooked for how many people we had, but I did change Bjorn's intentions, so he wasn't as much of a
As
threat,
a fighter,
yeah.
right? Because he went straight for Jada's.
yeah.
Yeah, which is understandable, really. Like as soon as I saw that, I was like, yeah, I guess that's what you do if
Yeah.
they had his. They had his something. They had his something, and so they charged through. They mess up Usinko in like the first round, right?
Yeah, so the Guardian Wolf attacked first and bit and clawed at Usinko and ended up knocking him prone. And then the Dire Wolf came in and the Dire Wolf attacked someone else, I think.
Yeah,
the guy
maybe
will
Zora.
attack you,
Yeah. Yeah, and then Bjorn walked straight past Usinko. Usinko, having Sentinel, was still able to attack from the ground, however, and managed to stop him in his tracks. To which Bjorn just double-handed axe straight down on the chest
Big
on Usinko. Brought him to 1 health in the first round.
Yeah, I imagine Usinko being on the ground, like grabbing at Bjorn's ankles or something as he tried to pass by.
Yeah.
and Bjorn was having none of it. So Usinko gets absolutely destroyed in the very first round. He doesn't die though,
No,
which is good.
just.
The wolves kind of split up, right? They attack Zora and Braylon, I think,
No, the wolves stayed there. They stayed at the mouth of the tent.
but they
Yeah,
attack
yeah.
different characters.
No,
Right.
they stayed there because the next round Zora moved towards the wolves.
Right. Okay. And Braylon does one of the B. We call the other two men B1 and B2.
Yeah.
B1 and B or B2. They attack. One of them attacks Braylon, right?
Yeah, B1 was attacking on the left, which was Braylon, and B2 was on the right, which was Zora.
Right. Okay. And so that happens, and initiative comes back around, and I think was it Braylon first,
Yes.
and he casts darkness. So rules are strange things in D&D, and in darkness, nobody can see each other, especially in magical darkness, where dark vision doesn't do shit unless you're unless you're a warlock with the vision thing, or there's some other things that work too. But for us and for the enemies, we don't see shit. And how attacks work in D&D is that if you have it's called unseen attacker's advantage or something, where if you don't see your attacker or your attacker doesn't see, sorry, if you can see your attacker and they can't see you, no wait, it's not even that. If the attacker can't see you, you get advantage pretty much. But if you can't see your attacker, you get disadvantage. So rules is written
Theoretically.
in the darkness. The disadvantage advantage would have just cancelled out, and they would have just been normal attacks against each other, which I think is dumb.
Mm.
And I think we all kind of agreed that it was kind of stupid that in darkness it's just normal fighting pretty much. I think the only caveat you can make in those circumstances if you try to like hide in the darkness, so they'd have to try and like investigate and find you first or something. But I don't really know because we rarely do combats with magical darkness, so that was kind of new to me as well. Because the one scenario I used magical darkness, it wasn't a one shot, which was Tokel's player's one shot where I played a warlock, a Pact of the Blade warlock who cast darkness, but he also had the thing where you can see in magical darkness. So he just cast darkness, run in, and just get advantage on everybody who was in the darkness. So that was fun.
Yeah.
'Cause that's where I remember the rules from. But I think Aiden, you ruled it as
Just disadvantage.
just
Everyone's got
straight up disadvantage.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I think is the right way to go about it. Because it definitely, if I were Braylon at that point and the DM just said, yeah, it's just normal attacks, I'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
oh man, that would suck.
It wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, so it's a bit weird the way the ruling works, but we do that. He casts darkness and the fight breaks out. I guess we should just kind of fast forward this part. One of the critiques we can make about the combat is that I think Kevin agrees with me that the start was good, but it kind of dragged on towards the end where it was just this one guy who refused to die pretty much, and he was trying to attack Jada or whatever.
Yeah.
And that took us like an extra, like a round or two, right?
Another round, I think.
And that kind of took a while. And I think, Kevin, you had a suggestion to make about that?
No, I think it was actually Lewis who said,
Lewis?
because I think there was like a slight, because when we killed the guardian wolf, the bigger of the two wolves, the dire wolf didn't run away straight away, and Lewis is like, yeah, maybe that should have happened as soon as the guardian wolf died, and then we could all jump on to the last guy. But I think I might have said just lowering the health of the overall encounter might have helped with that as well. I mean, it was still deadly.
I
But-
did do that. I did lower it like 10, 15 each. When I realized that you guys were struggling to get their health down. I did have the dire wolf running away after the guardian wolf was killed, but I wasn't sure whether to do that in the wolf's turn or to do that straight away because we were still in
Yeah, I think
still in combat.
I think lowering the health is a good start. I think maybe doing that a bit more dramatically would have helped just quicken things up. Because what I was thinking, like, obviously you can't just lower the health and then have them do the same damage. You could, like, make them deadlier. But that's, like, you should be more comfortable with DMing and stuff before you start doing that. because I was thinking, like, if I was ever to run a D&D campaign, stuff is definitely going to have to be faster, especially now that we have potentially more players to deal with. So, like, halving the health, increasing the damage of the enemies, that way the players don't have to change anything on their end. It's all your end you're changing. And if the players get some good rolls, boom, they're dead. If they don't, they get hurt, and like the urgency is already there. But in that situation, yeah, I think maybe you could have changed the behaviors of the enemies. So like, yeah, as I said before, the direwolf could have started running sooner. Maybe maybe the last guy like gives up or something like that. But that's all like really general ideas, right? It's all different when you're actually in the game and stuff is popping up left, right, and center.
Yeah. So I had in my mind that Bjorn being the leader, but the other two being very self-sufficient Viking berserkers on their own, wouldn't necessarily run as soon as the leader was dead, but they would get enraged, which is where they, as soon as they saw what had happened to him, they raged up. So that was the headcanon I had in my head for that encounter, particularly with the berserkers there.
I want to disagree with some of the points you made, Kevin. I think that halving health and increasing damage has a whole host of other issues it kind of brings with it. Like, it completely doesn't destroy balance, but it makes some classes much stronger and some classes much weaker. So I think there has to be some other way, or there has to be some other
Well, we haven't
extra things you have
actually
to add on.
we haven't actually implemented that in full in any sort of form. So yeah, you may be right, but there's no way we'd know that for sure.
I mean, you can just look up discussion forums, and people have talked about it. I've looked into it as well, seeing that we have 7 players, and there's a bunch of issues that kind of come with it. But I definitely think you can make it work if you have. But I think you have to make changes to both the players as well. You can't just halve health and increase damage or whatever. It just doesn't quite work the same. I agree in that maybe to increase the speed of the encounter, one of the barbarians would have given up or something, seeing that the leader got absolutely fucking destroyed by Braylon, who did this sweet monk shit with his failed fight. He tried to concussive strike 5 times or something.
Yeah.
And he Bjorn
He's got high constitution.
Bjorn rolled higher than DC 13, I think,
Yeah.
every single time, and I think the lowest goal was a 13, which barely makes it.
So his saving throw was a +7.
Jesus Christ, that's a thick boy.
Yeah.
That's a thick boy. I definitely think Aiden did the right thing, because I remember you consulting us mid battle. We're like, would the wolf run on its turn, or would it just run now? And I think I said it would run on its turn. Otherwise, what if one of the players wants to do something to the wolf or whatever? So yeah, I think the wolf did run immediately, just on its turn. So I think that went fine.
'Cause what would that have been? It would have been like 30 seconds worth of turn by the time.
6 seconds.
Yeah, well, 6 seconds each person.
No, the whole round
so
is 6 seconds.
6 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have taken to go.
Yeah.
"Oh, off we go."
Yeah, so it's a very short amount of time. So I think everything went fine, other than the dragging bit towards the end,
Yeah.
where that guy didn't want to die. Braylon chases down the wolf that ran away. Zora decides to heal the... Oh yeah, by the way, Cinco does his death saving throws, and Zora decides to heal him up before one of Bjorn's companions is still kicking Jade's ass. And we rush in. I think Kristoff kills one of the companions, and then starts shooting at the other one. And then Usinko gets back up. He starts hitting him. Everyone starts whacking him, and he eventually dies to Usinko.
Cinco. Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely dies to Usinko. And while all that was going on, Bella was like, "Hey, so Inquisitives have this feat where they can use a bonus action in their turns to inspect their surroundings, either to look for a hidden object or to decipher clues of some sort." And she does that twice because she's looking for whatever the cleric was hiding throughout this whole journey after she picked it up at that town. And eventually, she sees what did she see?
She sees a small what was a humanoid shape in her cloak that she is
Ooh.
covering.
Ooh. Why didn't that baby make any sound throughout the whole journey?
She had cast sleep on it.
Oh shit.
The cleric. Well, no, certainly cleric, not cast, but like had a potion of
Ooh,
sleep.
okay.
Yeah.
Cast. Yeah.
Okay. And she's like, oh shit, that's a whole ass child in there we've taken. She decides to shut up though. She doesn't want to tell the party members because she already hates half of them. She doesn't quite agree with the way half of them interact with the world, so she decides to keep her mouth shut. But I guess the cleric kind of saw Bella checking out the baby bump, the baby-sized bump in her cloaks. So that comes up a bit later.
Hey,
We
you
clean up-
simping for elves, you un-Ubanian, okay?
Half elves.
That's
They're half
un-Ubanian.
elves.
Hey, whatever. It doesn't matter. They're savages, okay? They're savages. That's
They're half
un-Ubanian. That's un-Ubanian to be simping from them, okay?
You ain't seen what Bella's seen. You ain't seen it.
You ain't been on the
ain't
front
seen-
lines. You ain't seen shit.
You ain't tortured hundreds of elves, have you, huh?
I
Hearing
killed
them
100
cry and
of them.
scream.
I killed 100 of them, okay? They're worth
Yeah,
nothing more
yeah.
than blood on the ground.
Anyway, that's the dynamic we had as the party. I guess we clean up the battlefield, and then we fast forward, right? Because we're pretty much approaching like midnight at this point.
Yeah, it was like 11:40.
So we're like, I guess Aiden, you were like, we gotta hurry this up a little bit. Did you have anything planned after that, or was it just
really.
straight to the
Yeah.
straight to the capital? So yeah, we made good time. We fast forwarded. We get to the capital of Jubania, Runestadt. And Aiden, I really like the description you did. I personally really love long descriptions where I just get to like, I didn't even like close my eyes, but I just get to kind of think in my head like, wow, that does look pretty cool. It look really fucking cool in my head. I don't know if it's the same for you, Kevin.
Yeah, I mean, it was different from what I would picture the capital of Ubania was, but I did like how descriptive it was, and I liked how half the city was like slapped onto, was it 2 mountains?
Yeah, nestled
stuff like
between
that?
two mountains
Yeah.
in the ridge.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good description, but it was like wasn't quite how I pictured it. But obviously, I never have described it at all in detail. But yeah, it doesn't matter. That what I think doesn't matter. It was still a good description.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And we just kind of fast forward. We go into the city, and Jada splits off. She does her own thing or whatever, and we have to report to the captain, lieutenant. What
Yeah,
was
he was like a
commanding officer,
or major.
like a general of the
Yeah,
Ubanian
yeah.
army. And so Aiden does this really cool thing where we have to write our reports in isolation pretty much. So we just kind of type it out on our phones without discussing it with each other. The events of the past, month and a bit?
Yeah, it would have been about 2 months.
2 months? So we all pretty much skip after the first month because we don't really know what happened. It was chill. And we write about what happened. So the 2 battles, Long, all of that. And everyone has somewhat similar descriptions of what happened. Some of us have a few other comments and to add on. For
Yeah.
example, I think Yusinko, I wasn't there at the time, but he dropped some bombs on Bella, right?
Yeah, I got it written here. So Yusinko mentions that Bella spoke English. I mentioned that Chris didn't wake up, or Christoph didn't wake up through the entire battle, which was very poor of Christoph. He also mentioned that he ate the gypsies' food. And then he mentions he has like a couple of recommendations for Braylon, who did lots of punching and killing, was the terms that he used. Bella was good with the bow, recommended Bella for Night's Watch, and mentions that Jada had some superficial injuries.
Okay. So he didn't drop as many bombs on Bella as I thought he did?
No, the only one that was really dropped on Bella was the that she spoke Elvish, and that he thought that was weird.
I don't want to hear this about the man who speaks Orc, huh? Huh? We didn't get into that, but motherfucker spoke Orc. I think Zora's report was pretty succinct, right?
It was pretty undetailed, and I did that intentionally at first. But then I got triggered at Bella dropping bombs everywhere, so I decided to snitch a little. But at first, I was tending Zora to be like, even though I don't like certain people, I'm not gonna snitch on them, right? So I just give them like the base outline, right? No detail, no incriminating evidence. We just did this. This happened. That happened. Who killed what? That's it. Right? Pretty succinct. So it was probably the least detailed out of all the reports, I reckon. Because Zoro only cares about going back to the front lines, and once all this is all over, we don't see each other. With likelihood, we don't see each other again. So she's not too fussed. She doesn't hold any grudges really until the end.
I think Bella was completely fine in her intentions. As a soldier, you have to be honest, well, mostly honest with your commanding officer. So she spits some truth bombs. We're like, hey, why the fuck do 4 out of 5 of these people know Elvish, the heathen tongue of the barbarian tribes? So she was sus as hell. She was like, hey, they're also kind of assholes. So she threw most of them under the bus. Like, she said that Braylon decided to chase after the wolf instead of trying to help Jada, which is our main objective. And Zoro decided to heal Yusinko instead of helping Jada at the same time. So she was very keen on throwing them under the bus. She was like, I don't like these people. I'm never going to see them again, so fuck it. Fuck these guys. They're crazy. They're murderers. I'm eating them out of here. Which completely backfires on her, by the way. She gets fucked up. I think Braylon and Kristoff's... Braylon's account was pretty succinct as well. I don't think he mentioned... It was pretty similar to everyone else's. Right?
I had the CO drag a few details out, like who did the most killing, who did the least killing, who I dragged a few extra details that I was looking for.
Yeah.
Out of Braylon.
And Kristoff's account. Oh Lord, Kristoff's account was one of the funniest Tokal-esque things I've ever heard. Oh Lord, the way he... I don't know how to... Can someone else describe this? Because I can't think of a good way to...
So basically, he kind of describes everything in pretty good detail, except the detail that he's explaining to the CEO is also very, very incriminating of himself, because he basically admits to the CEO that he didn't do much of anything during the fights, which I think was the main reason why he got fucking axed at the end. And like Kristoff's like, yeah, didn't do much, but that's okay, they've got the mission done. The SEAL's like, yeah, but you didn't do much. That's the issue. And and like he wasn't even like shocked that he was getting killed. It was like, oh, I'm getting killed for this? Yeah, that's understandable. That's understandable. I could get that. But yeah, basically he's explaining stuff. I think he goes into it was probably one of the most detailed accounts of what happened with the half-elves.
Too detailed.
And yeah, so much detail in the fact that he slept for most of it, and he picked up like even the fact that he picked up like only a couple of sticks when foraging for firewood.
And nobody else mentioned that, by the way.
Yeah, nobody thought to mention that because it wasn't relevant, but he was like, but yeah, look, I did this, right? That's like adding double spaces to the essay to make it look longer.
It's a good comparison.
He even mentioned that he named the horses. Click clack.
Did he name the horses?
Yeah.
Oh Lord, and he said yip yip for some reason too.
Yeah.
That took me out of it. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Hey, my immersion.
Maybe it was just Yip Yip. The horse's name.
It was Yip Yip, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on. And so the CEO, he had a name, right?
No, I didn't have a name prepared for him.
Just super scary CEO.
Yeah.
Was like, alright, to the chopping block with you. You're dead. You died. You were useless. I don't know why you were part of this mission, but you're no longer part of this empire because you're gonna die. So he sends him off to get executed like right after that. And I think I'm not sure if it was Braylon's play or just Braylon as a character was like super sad or like he felt really bad for Kristoff dying because he kept like talking about it. I was like, oh yeah, I guess I feel kind of bad, but also he kind of got he got what was coming saying that shit.
Yeah, he's self-snitch. That's what snitches get. Snitches get stitches. Except you
Speaking
dead.
So I get pulled aside. Bella gets pulled aside, and the CEO is like, "Hey, you saw something, didn't you?" And there was this split moment where I was like, do I lie? do I lie to the
I
CEO?
can see that.
But I had to keeping the tracks of what the character would do, and she's been honest so far. So she was like, "Yeah, I saw the baby, I saw the kid," and he was like, you ain't allowed to see the kid. You know that's why we cut that lady's tongue off because she ain't allowed to talk about seeing the kid." And he's like, "So we're gonna cut your tongue off too." And Bella's whole character is that she could speak 6 languages, and that her whole purpose, purpose, her whole purpose of her life is to speak 6 languages and interrogate different races. So if she loses her tongue, she's fucked. And it seemed like the only option at the time, but she was like, "I'm sure you guys have some sort of magic, right? Some sort of mind-blanking magic where you can just make me forget it all." And Aiden, in his righteous, very nice way, was like, "Sure, but you have to go through training again," which was like 2 years of training or something, right?
Yeah, it's rough magic, so we have to erase 2 years. Training.
And Bella, in her backstory, she fucking hated training. Like, it was like the most torturous experience of her whole life. And she was like, "Shit, which one's worse?" But she decides to take the mind blank, and we never see her again. Yusinko gets offered to join the Night's Watch, but the CEO is like, "Yeah, but you gotta get sterilized." And Yusinko's like, "Aight." He doesn't give a damn. He's like, I ain't never gonna have kids anyway. I ain't spoke to a girl outside of the army ever.
My wife,
So
the
he-
glaive.
So he's like, alright, he joins. We never see him again. Zora gets pulled aside. She gets promoted, right?
Zora and Braylon were just together.
Oh, okay. Do they both get promoted?
They both got promoted.
She gets promoted and gets sent back to the front lines.
As to her wish.
Yeah. And I think the CEO is like, "Braylon, we're gonna investigate why your masters know Elvish and why they taught you Elvish. It's not your fault, so you get a promotion." And so he I don't know what happens to him at the end. I think he just walks away or something. I don't know if he goes anywhere in specific.
No.
But he just kind of goes away. So maybe that comes into the future at some point. Maybe there's some elvish agents back in Uvania who are trying to do something, but who knows? So there are a lot of tidbits, and the thing about one-shots that relate to the campaign is that they're actual plot threads that we can pull on later on, even though it was set 70, how many years?
77.
Yeah.
77 years in the past. But maybe something will come out of that at some point if we ever go in the main campaign back to Ubania. So yeah,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. Do you have any critiques for Aiden, Kevin?
Yeah, I think I had like one, but it was very, very minor. I think it just had more to do with Aiden not being fully familiar with all the like character mechanics and things like that. In regards to Yusinko being on the floor getting a opportunity attack, I think he gets that anyway, regardless if he's on the floor or not. He just gets disadvantaged, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we gave it to him.
Yeah, no. But he would get that without Sentadol, right?
No, because
I took disengage.
Bjorn disengaged.
Oh, okay.
Bjorn shouldn't have been able to attack then,
Was it?
right?
Maybe it didn't take. Or maybe one of the berserkers disengaged at the time, I think, and still got.
No, it was definitely Bjorn. It was definitely Bjorn because Amr was talking about it. Yeah, he was disengaged, but he had Sentinel anyway, so it was like,
Right.
alright, you can't leave.
So once it's because disengage is the action.
Yeah,
So
so
he shouldn't have
technically he
attacked.
shouldn't have been able to attack, but that's fine. That was fun anyway, watching him get
Destroyed.
watching
wonked.
him get destroyed on the ground.
And I think there was one other point with Braylon using his stunning strikes. This is also another thing where I get the feeling it's just you not knowing exactly how the flurry of blows stunning strikes works with a monk. Because it does specifically say when you hit, so it only activates when he actually hits the AC threshold. But I also had like an inkling in the back of my mind. You thought that maybe that was too strong, and you wanted to try and dial that back. But that's just me. I'm just pulling at straws here. I don't think.
I
You're
think I just I just misinterpreted the term on hit. I assumed it was like once you hit, you had to mention the effect, sort of similar to the fighter's feat, where you have to mention whether when you use your attack, when you use your what are the dice?
Battlemaster.
The battle master, the battle die.
Yeah.
When you use those, you have to mention it before you know the effects.
Yeah, I think that's just probably
That was the assumption.
Yeah, I think there's just the wording of the thing, because I think D&D assumes on hit means you land the hit, not you making the hit,
Yeah.
like attempting
Yeah.
to make a hit. So,
Yeah.
but that's fine. I think that would get better. And I even said to Albert afterwards, after you went, that you'd probably make a really good DM once like you're a lot more familiar with the rules. Because yeah, I think you pick it up really quickly, even though you've only run 4 or 5 sessions.
I think it's actually only 3, including this one.
No, it was at least 3 Lord of the Rings sessions, right?
Because there was one here, and there was one at your house, there was one at my house, and then we went online, and we didn't do it online.
Huh?
I'm
Maybe
fairly
you're right.
certain it's only 2.
Because I remember we ended with the anti-venom, and we started with anti-venom in a new session.
Yes, and the first session was with the grey muzzle, the wolf, and then you make your way into the town on the river.
But no. It was 3, because we stopped at the elf. I don't know. It was like the wood elf place or something. Where
Yeah, with Gandalf.
the wolf attacked,
Yeah.
and then that was the end of one session.
The session, yeah, and then the next session picked up where Gandalf guided you through the forest. You had to find your way back through it.
Yeah, and then we did that, and then we stopped again when we went back through the forest, when we camped at Anti-Venom's house.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yeah.
So there was three
So
total.
then we finished at Bayon's.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So it was 3.
I don't know when the 3rd session happened, but I guess it happened
Yeah.
at some point. Anyway, I think it was really good for your fourth session. I think it's definitely a lot to wrap your head around, having to know six classes. 6 classes worth of things. I think that's more on the players this time around, because players have to be able to know what they can do and explain it properly to the DM. So that's more on us, I think, at that point.
But that's a typical new DM thing.
Yeah.
So, and especially Aiden is a newer player than all, but the both of us at least.
Yeah.
So that's that's normal though. That's normal. So if more experienced players have to explain stuff to the DM who's newer to the game, I think that's fine.
I mean, at this point in the main campaign, I have no fucking idea what your classes can do after like level 7 or 8. I used to know because we only had 3 classes to look at, but now I have 7 classes to look at. So I'm just like, they should just tell me, and I'll just, if I think that they're wrong, I'll just look it up after. But I'll just take their word for granted, because it is a lot of work trying to figure out how 7 classes work, especially if they have like 4 archetypes and some crazy shit. So shout out to all the players. Know how your class works. Know how your class works, and if we ever run into any kind of rule issues, you can explain it. Because I don't know how your fucking classes work at this point anymore. Yeah. If I can make a few critiques, this is a conscious choice I make when I do combat. I like to do the descriptions of most hits or stuff like that.
I realized that after the fact. I was like, "Ooh, could have described that a little bit more."
Yeah, but I think in this scenario it's okay because we were short on time.
Yeah.
And especially for 6-player combat in this 5-player combat actually. Sorry, 5-player combat in this scenario. It goes for a long time if you describe every hit, which is just an issue in itself of having too many players. So we'll have to figure out some sort of solution for that in the future. But if the players are okay with the DM describing every hit, then fuck it. Who cares? So it's up to you guys really. But I would have liked to see some more
Description.
Yeah, because it's like gratification for what you're doing. It's just like a reaction to your action, pretty much. It's nice to see. but I think I was fine with it because I only attacked like 2 or 3 times, so I didn't feel too much. I didn't feel too much. I spent most of my time just kind of looking around the room every time I tried to attack somebody,
Looking for
Yeah.
babies.
looking for babies. Because I mean, we all knew she was holding a baby or something in her arms.
Yeah,
But
for me,
yeah.
it's always better that the DM acknowledges what the player's done through like a DM description of something. And I think I spoke to Al. I don't know if you were there. Well, I don't know if it was last week or the week before with Lewis, but the outfits thing, the Hurrian unlockable outfits mean that we have. It feels a lot more grounded now that Albert is like, yeah, making efforts to have that actually be in the campaign. Because when the DM says something, yeah, it's canon now. It's canon now. So, and I think that also translates into just combat as well, instead of the player having to like try and pat themselves on the back for something that they did.
Yeah. I agree with that. I also think the players can also do that themselves, like if they can ask each other what each other looks like. This goes back to the whole caring about what like other characters pretty much. I mean, I think you guys can ask each other what you guys look like, and I think that would also do it, you know?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
think
It's I
yeah.
think yeah, that probably like not just like player to DM, but player to player as well. It's just like if someone else acknowledges it, that makes it feel more grounded.
More real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of just being like headcanon or something like that. So
So another pro tip: care about each other. Care about each other's characters. I personally think that D&D should be it shouldn't be just like 6 people following this one person on their journey. They should actually kind of care about the outcome. They're not just waiting for their turn for their arc to start or end or whatever. I think they should all care about whatever's happening to each character. Otherwise, it's going to be kind of a slog. So I don't know. I'm pretty sure you guys kind of nailing that right now. Anyway, well, at least I think for the most part, you guys are like, oh shit, something's going on with this character. We should do something about it because it affects all of us.
yeah.
But yeah, that's my tip. My pro tip.
Yeah, I think there was discussion after last episode. No, not last episode. The episode before that, where Lewis tried to spark up a conversation on the way to the artificer's place, and nobody was biting on that. And yeah, my bad for doing that as well. I think it was zoning out. It was like really late that night. But it helps the players. It helps the characters be part of other players' arcs, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it shouldn't be isolated.
But
pretty
yeah,
much.
we should be, and there is a degree of separation there where, like, obviously in real life, sometimes you can just intuitively tell how someone's feeling just by the way they act and their body language, facial expressions, or whatever. But in D&D, you have to describe everything, right? Because stuff that you do out of character, people might not take that as in-game, right? Unless you say so. So I think we have to be a bit more obvious, a bit more conspicuous about how our characters are feeling, and a bit more proactive about checking in emotionally and that stuff. And I think that will help build up the party bondage, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, this is something I just thought of. Do you think it would be worthwhile if every now and then I just asked, how is X feeling at the moment? Like, what does X feel about this? Or is that too on the nose?
Yeah, I think every once in a while, I don't think that would hurt at all. And it would help players to remind them that, like, oh yeah, we should be asking. And I think after a while, you might not need to do that as much. But
Hey,
I'll definitely have to try and keep that in mind when I'm playing, at least, because yeah, every now and then I just forget, right? And I'm just like just listening to stuff and not really partaking. So I should be participating and having a more active role in role playing sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I agree as well. I mean, with what Kevin said. I mean, it'd be good to help remind people to ask about how people are feeling or interact with people a bit more. And after a while, you probably won't have to do it as much.
yeah,
But
it comes naturally.
yeah, it'll be good to do that initially just to kickstart it a little bit. I think. 'Cause, old habits die hard.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it's maybe not even an old habit. It's just not a habit right now. So,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, an old habit to not ask about people's lives.
Yeah, I guess so.
sure.
Kevin, is there anything else you wanted to ask Aiden while he was here with us?
The only thing I really wanted to talk about, and this is probably not particularly directed at Aiden, I think we mentioned just earlier that like there may be some plot threads that we could follow down the line if we were ever to travel to Ubania. And I had something in my backstory that I was explaining to Braylon, but we got stuck into another thing, so I didn't get to finish the description. But like my character so she's a part of this organization that worships an older aspect of Christoph. So I kind of introduced this, like, there is some sort of like differing opinions about who Christoph is or who he should be. And I kind of picture that these people think Christoph is, he's changed. He's not the same. He's not like as traditional as he once was. In what regard? I don't know. Haven't explored that part yet, but he's different, right? And it's kind of like, Trump's slogan, "Make America Great Again," "Make Ubania Great Again." All right,
Oh Lord,
something like that.
the Maya.
And going back to like an old, more traditional version of Christoph, which I put the name Crom, who was one of the names that they gave to Christoph when he first came down in the old legend from heaven. So I kind of like that Ubania isn't all put together as much as they
homogenous.
And they're not monolithic like as much as they want us to believe it to be. There's also infighting here and there, differences in religion and stuff like that. I think you even touched on like why is there secret elves in Ubania trying to flip things from inside. I think that's really cool. I think that would be cool. Something cool to explore later on, especially because they're elves, right? And they can live for a long time. So that actually might still be relevant because the elves back then could still be alive now. That's assuming they're even a thing. So I was wondering, like, what kind of lore bits could we glean from this one shot that could potentially have impact on the Axia campaign right now?
I mean, before we get into that, what did you think of the lore bit that I posted up on the Discord?
Ooh, I was going to talk about that.
Because what I wanted to talk about could be related to that.
Yes, I did.
Primarily what I built this off.
I did read that, and it went a lot more into detail. So that kind of expanded on that thing that I wrote ages ago, the letter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did like that. Was that written in the perspective of anyone, or was that like this is actually what it is? You know what I mean?
It was written from the perspective of someone within Ubania, like one of the council members that take after Christoph when he goes into his hibernation.
So yeah, so as far as we're aware, it's actually quite factual. It's not like a secondhand account from something, or he's like recounting something. It's just like, this is the process, right? This is what we do right now, and I'm telling you this. So it is.
That was what I had in my head, because I needed something to build off that was as factual as possible. And like I said to you, like, if it's, I know, because I know you wanted it to be more of a unreliable narrator type situation. So if it's a little bit too reliable,
I mean, that's up to Albert. I think, Albert, were you debating in your head whether to make this fully canon or not, Albert?
So I have this thing with ambiguity with the Ubanian Empire, but I think I thought about it for a bit, and I was like, am I just using ambiguity as a shield for shitty plot development? Like, just like a mysterious kind of thing? And I might be. So I actually really like the concept we're going with here. So context-wise, as the hashtag lore has written, Christoph goes into, what would you say, like hibernation or something? He goes away for 20 years.
To summarize it, so the rest of the world thinks he goes into hibernation. He disappears for 20 years. No one sees him for 20 years. In about his 40s, 50s, somewhere in that range, depending on his health and his well-being at the time, he just up and disappears from the public eye. What actually happens, or what I had written in my head, was they take him away into a ceremonial chamber and he's ceremoniously killed. And they record the time that he's killed, and at that point, from a 24-hour period, his soul or his being is transferred into another vessel, a young male, a baby vessel born within the 24-hour period of his ceremonial death. So that was the reason for the Novo clerics. They're sent out across all of Ubania, so there was more than one cleric on this task doing different areas, to which they search for and test all the male born within that 24-hour period. The testing is not the most accurate of things, so there are false positives, to which you get multiple male babies being brought back to the capital, in which they are tested further to find the true vessel of Christoph. And then that child is raised as the emperor. He's raised with the ideals of Ubania. He's raised with all reverence and everything, and the memories and the past of Christoph does come back to them eventually. But that it was and once they reach age of 20, once they've gone through their military training, they're quite extensively trained and educated. Then they are brought back into the public eye, and Christoph returns from his slumber.
Yeah. And they don't look the same as the old emperor.
They look similar.
Okay, like child of things similar, like a
Yeah.
younger, different-ish
Yeah,
version.
if you look close enough, but no one ever gets really close enough to the
Oh,
emperor
okay.
to glean this,
Yeah.
because he's whenever he dresses, he's on top of his pedestal, like, over the top of the city, so no one ever really notices too much of a difference from a distance. But there are differences,
Okay.
obviously.
Yeah, I was reading it this morning. I had this giant smile on my face when you mentioned that the other candidates become the royal guard. That's a really cool concept to me. How like the other candidates they grow up together, they all kind of bond with each other over a span of like 20 years, and at a certain point they're tested again for their aptitudes and classes, so cleric, sorcerers, whatever, and they become the king's guard, the emperor's, I don't know, like loyal, kind of like blood brother knights, right? Because
Yeah.
they're pretty much brothers at this point, right?
Yeah.
And that's really cool. That's really cool to me. Do you have like a number of how many there would be or not?
It changes year to year. So
Okay.
if they get 3 false positives, then there's three there. I think the I had written up, or in my head, the highest they've ever had was 5. 5
Okay.
false positives.
That's really cool. What I also really liked was that it's not like a copy and paste emperor every time. There's like specific traits they just sometimes have that the old emperor didn't. Like it's just part of, I guess, human nature, as you would say, that they're just different in personality wise in different ways, but they mostly retain the same, I don't know, the same outlook on life as the old Christoph, either due to training or due to the inheritance
yeah.
of memories or
Yeah, well, yeah,
whatnot.
like there's getting soul imprinted from the old Christoph, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not perfect. Like it's not exact
Yeah.
copy. You just get details here and there, which I think is cool.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I was like, you could write a book on like that whole concept of like the one that got away, like there was a
Yeah.
baby that didn't get caught by the clerics, and
Yeah.
that's the guy who inherits like the emperor's memories. You could write a whole damn book about that. It's such a cool, fun concept to work with, honestly.
So with the campaign, I had a bunch of different things planned in terms of explanations of if the cleric doesn't make it, if the cleric dies, if the baby dies, if whatever. So basically, if the baby dies, the whole party would have been executed
Yep.
for
Failure.
their failure. But if they get back to the capital and the testing all comes back negative, that's a real pain in the ass for them, because they have to do that whole process all over again. You would have then robbed up to 4 or 5 babies of their actual life, because the life they could have had. They would have been raised normally, but they wouldn't have had that higher life that they could have had. So the whole process starts again.
So the false positives that they brought to bring back in the first place, they're just kind of put off.
Yeah, like hadn't decided if they get taken back to their family or whatnot, but
Okay.
yeah, the life that they could have had as the King's Guard is no longer. Something else happens to them.
Damn.
They don't die, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, that'd
so-
be pretty. That'd be Ubanian as hell if they just yeeted them out of existence.
yeah,
So one of the babies we had was just one of the babies. Like we didn't know if it was the
yeah.
actual.
You don't know if it was the
If it
Emperor.
was him.
Yeah,
Yeah. I don't know. It's a really fun concept to explore, and I don't know. You could write whole essays about different things going on, babies missing or whatever. I don't
Yeah.
know. That's really cool to me.
I just wanted to touch on Albert's point, whether like using ambiguity was just a cover up for shitty plotting or something like that.
Shitty writing.
Like I would probably maybe agree and disagree on that one. I would agree that if you were too lazy to write something concrete, right? You were just like, oh yeah, could be, could not be, and just using it to deflect, right? I think it might be lazy in that respect, but if you were doing mystery with intention and you're writing out multiple little threads that can be pulled upon, but none of them are really concrete, I think there's merit to that kind of mystery. So yeah, I don't think mystery should be regarded as something you use because you're lazy. It can be something that can be intentional and can be great.
Yeah, because before the whole reincarnation thing came into play, like before you wrote that, I had a very different concept in my head as to who Kristoff was or how he existed as this immortal emperor of the Ubanian Empire. But I think with enough writing, you can kind of connect the two, which is why I was like, it's not really this, but it kind of is this. But now that we have a more concrete way of looking at it, I think it's good. I actually like this a lot more than what I originally intended. But I'm still definitely gonna change a few things or have a few things be a little different for when you guys actually maybe encounter this in the very far or near future.
Yeah. I definitely like mysteries to be like puzzles that are like just missing certain pieces here, like crucial pieces here and there that really like bring the whole picture together. And I really love speculating on those missing pieces because it's just fun to just speculate, right? And mysterious things should be mysterious, right? Like you think in fantasy worlds of
Yeah.
and that's yeah. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say to that. Mysterious things can be cool. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and there's always this moment that you want to have where you're just like, oh, it's that, and I'm just praying that moment happens at some point. And I think it will.
like a aha, I knew it. I knew that. Like I knew it, but I wasn't
everything
sure.
connects.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you just kind of think back and everything connects with each other. It's like, oh, that's why that happened, or that's why it was like this.
You can even have it like there's like a new possibility. Like you figure out a new possibility for something to be something else, like something unrelated that like came up ages ago, and then like it comes back, and you're like, so that's what that thing was. It was this, and it was like, oh, it could be this, and then it turns into this, and yeah, I really like that kind of
those are
conspiracy
the good
theory,
parts.
red string moments.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Anything else you wanted to ask Aiden while you were here?
I don't think so.
Is there anything you wanted to ask Albert or me regarding anything?
Well, we've gone through like tips and improvements.
Anything?
the other-
anything you would like to see?
I don't know if I want to create a character now that is because I sort of had it in my mind with the barbarians that there's like I said, they're Vikings that are used on the front lines by Ubania or in the navy, like in the navy essentially. So I want to see a character that's from the Ubania that's a Viking barbarian.
Ooh.
That's what I want to see now.
So different subcultures within Ubania. I
Yeah,
think that would be
yeah,
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely like the whole Ubania isn't homogenous. It spans such a wide area that there's different little I don't know, cultural cliques.
Yeah, they're not all just the same copy paste. people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because in the start they were definitely all they were all definitely all just kind of the same people. You know, kind of light skinned, blondish, you know, that type of person. Yeah, I like the way this is going, definitely. I wanted to say something. Right. I really like when other people DM because I can steal a bunch of shit from them. And in this scenario, I wasn't quite aware that Braylon's player was a huge, no, maybe not huge, but he definitely liked the battle maps and tactical aspects of battle more than the rest of us, and I really had no idea. And when he mentioned it, I was like, oh shit, maybe I should add more map fights, I guess.
Hey, can I
What's the
drop a
word? Battle map
can I drop
fights.
a bomb here? Can I drop a
Go
bomb
drop
here?
some bombs.
Hey, he should have said it so in the episode discussion when we talked about battle maps and theater of the mind. Okay,
Yeah,
that's his
yeah.
fault. That's his fault.
Yeah, fuck you.
Yeah.
Get
Get
it.
in the comments, all right? Get in the comments.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Anyway,
I
yeah.
mean, I think that's it for this one. There is one last thing we have to do if we're all satisfied with everything we talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that's fine.
We have to check the emails because last week we missed
Yeah.
one email
Our
from
first
our first fan mail from someone we totally don't know. Tranquil Storm, captain of the Howling Snarl, sent us mail last week. Should I just read it out?
Yeah, go ahead.
To the whelps that spew knowledge as if they are better than me.
Can you do this in Tranquil Storm?
Oh,
Yeah, do it.
hey, I'm walking here. To the whelps that spew knowledge as if they are better than me. I have no idea which god you serve, but your record keeping is shocking. While traveling on the seas, as a device washed up to my ship, it began spewing your voices, talking about myself and my old party. Who are you to judge my actions? I may remind you that you are addressing a powerful party of adventurers. I have a large crew of skilled fighters. I believe you mentioned Boulder, Dusty, and others. Well, if you know them so well, you know they will not take to your affront kindly. We shall sail to your land and find your hearth. It is there we shall eat your food and drink your ale. I may be an old man, but I sure still know how to drink a strength potion. The clawed lightning will be on you with the prowess of Goliath I once knew. I do not know of the dice you speak of, unless you are gambling like the drunkards of the taverns. This role-playing sounds like what a theater troupe will learn when they are young. Maybe your theater troupe should give up. I haven't even heard of any music or songs that you play. I tell you to find your local bard guild and join them to learn the true art of performance. May I recommend the Charm and Harm? I have used a local archmage to send this message. It better be sent, otherwise he may be dealing with an old cat like myself, as you shall be. And remember to sleep with one eye open. I heard a cloud of daggers is not a great way to wake up. Tranquil Storm, captain of the Snarling Hail. Oh god, that accent takes it out of me.
I like that. That's
Hey.
good. That's got lots of lore in it, lots of little references, and I love it.
Thanks, Tranquil Storm, for the
Thanks so
for
much.
the email. Thanks for the email, you asshole. Why are you threatening us? I don't even remember what we talked about that episode. Shit.
What was that? Was that 2 weeks old now? Was that since?
That's 13 days ago, yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, real sorry about that, for not getting to that earlier, Tranquil Storm.
Yeah. We forget because nobody writes us anything.
Please write us. Anybody, somebody. There's honestly not much I can say about this than other that it's hilarious, and fuck you. And thanks for the extra lore you're giving us. And I know what that Goliath you're talking about is. I know who that is.
Yeah, we know who your crew is. You're not the captain of the Snarling Hull, though, unless that was written before.
Yeah. No. Oh, actually, it might be written as a little bit of a flashback, but who knows?
Yeah.
But he ain't Boulder's captain no more.
He's still captain to me.
He's just a traitor who left us. He left us a little bit of gold and he fucking drove off on his ship.
With
us his little
80,000
shitty
big
goblin ship.
ones.
It's chump change. Chump change. In the future, you guys rob the dragon's hoard. Well, in the different future, I guess.
Possible future.
In a possible future, you guys rob the dragon's hoard. So who knows? Maybe you guys get
Maybe
something
we'll
similar,
just run
something
away
better.
again. Maybe we'll just run away again.
Ah, yes, the thing you guys are so good at doing. Just run away. Just running away. Enemies aren't that scary. You one-shot enemies. You don't have to run. Just fight. You can kill them all.
So, next week will be a bye. So maybe we'll jump into some old
Flashback episode.
old Axis stories from the OTP, the original party of 3, Snow, Tokal, and
party.
Sieg/Eisen. So yeah, look forward to that. I think this would be a good place to drop it off.
Let's do it.
All right, we've been Far Kingdoms. Catch you later.
Yeah. Thanks, Aiden.
No worries. Thanks for having me again.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.